Okay, Webrecorder is a free open source web archiving tool built and developed by Rhizome with the support of the Mellon Foundation. It enables high-fidelity captures of web pages, including the kind of interactive content which is difficult for traditional web crawlers to capture because, as I said earlier, it requires direct activation by a user. So actions such as scrolling to load or clicking to play cannot, at the moment, be mimicked by a crawler. High-fidelity capture is a high-fidelity capture is one which can reproduce this complex dynamic content, not only visually but with functional and experiential accuracy. Webrecorder can achieve captures that are truer to the original browsing experience because it is operated by a curator who performs the gestures which bring the web to life. So clicking buttons and links, scrolling, expanding and collapsing dialog boxes, or flicking through images during capture renders those same elements and activities accessible to somebody browsing the web archive. My aim in this session this afternoon is just to give you an overview of Webrecorder's core components. I'll introduce the interface as it is seen by a curator or archivist who collects and by a researcher who explores the web archive. My hope is to speak for around 20 minutes, leaving 10 minutes for questions and discussion, as well as potentially some hands-on experimentation with the tool, and if you're interested we can continue that in the break afterwards. So I'm going to describe or run through 3 broad phases of the collecting workflow: capture, review and browse. In the capture phase, a curator defines the seed or start URL from which to explore the web and begins navigating and interacting. In the review phase, a curator's the review phase as a whole, it is a curator's opportunity to look back upon and, if necessary, augment what they've captured before preparing the content for browsing, the final phase, the browse phase, by adding description, choosing privacy settings, and devising a system of arrangement that will facilitate and guide somebody who's going to navigate the collection. I'll also introduce one of the modes by which Webrecorder can be browsed offline using the Webrecorder player, which is another free open source piece of software. It's a desktop application, also developed by Rhizome and available on GitHub. I'll give you the link when we get there. So after I've done those things, then I'll open up some discussion. So for capture, we'll begin here at webrecorder.io. Enter capture mode simply by, you can see that quite well, okay. Enter the capture mode simply by pasting in the URL you want to record, or pasting in the URL you want to save and clicking start. Notice the pulsing capture button in the top left, and watch the file size counter, also in the top left, increase as content is captured. You select your pathway, and for this demo I opted to explore the blog, so you can see that all of these are stills. This was an attempt not to do a disastrous live demonstration, so we're going to do it like this. You can see I've clicked on the blog. So I scroll down and I click I'm interested in this announcement about a forthcoming exhibition at the New Museum. I'm going to explore that page, scroll right to the bottom. On my way back up, I noticed an article about constant dull art and a net artist I'm interested in. So I click, scroll through, then continue exploring. I looked through the first 3 pages of the blog. You can see in the URL, the banner where it says current browser, then you see a kind of internal banner. You can see the URL of my page location, so the third page of the blog. I use the back button in my browser to return to the first page of the blog. Oh, I heard Zach Blass speaking at Transmediale this spring, so I'm going to click on that article titled Get Off the Internet. I'm going to read the article, remembering to keep an eye on the file size counter, which is increasing in the top left, 23.83 megabytes. Scroll through until I reach the bottom of the page, and the counter has, and I'm sort of satisfied that that counter has stilled. I'm going to, scrolling slowly back up, I decide to follow the link to see the Zach Blass work in Net Art Anthology. I click, scroll down, press play on the embedded video I encounter, decide to click and look at some GIFs. I watch them animate while Webrecorder captures their movement and scroll to the bottom of the page. I notice the social media links and decide to look at Instagram. I use the option button, 3 dots in the top right corner. Maybe I should, can you see that? How do you, so great. So yeah, the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner there. I use the option button there. So sorry, I have shown you already. Option button, 3 dots on the top right to turn auto scroll on. I watch the page roll. The posts are flickering into being until I'm satisfied the file size counter has stopped rising and I think I've got everything. I return to the options, switch auto scroll off because that allows me to slow back up slowly and make sure. But on the way I notice constant dull art's revolving Google and catches my eye again, so I hover over it. I see it's got 1,835 views, 4 comments. Decide to expand it, click to play the video. Back in the profile, I see a work I like by RTV Akant. I hover over it, click, and tab through the stack of images. I look at one more post, something I liked from Zach Blass again, and then I hover over the capture button to click stop. Okay, now we're moving into the review phase. Here is the curator's view of the collections index page. I have 61 minutes, 22 seconds to do something with this collection. Login is optional, but if you sign up, you get 5 gigabytes of free storage on Rhizome server. To make it permanent and stable, I decide to log in, entering my details and giving my collection a name. Signing in. These are my collections. You can see in the header that I've got 24 stored here on Rhizome's server. I'll scroll through the alphabetical list to find today's demo collection, Rhizome's website for DPC demo. Here's the collections index. There are 13 pages in my collection. They each have a timestamp detailing the date and the time of capture. page title, which is automatically extracted from the web, and a URL. The capture browser is blank, but I'm going to ignore that for the time being because I don't want to get this too complicated, just show you what it is. So, using the tools from the left-hand panel, so you can see there clicking, I can create a new session, I can add a description, I can choose to keep my collection private or make it public, or I can use the option button with 3 dots again to open up a broader toolkit which will enable me to manage, upload, download, delete, etc. If I select one of the pages, I can view its properties, i.e. some basic metadata in the lower part of the left panel. Clicking plus in the central part of the left panel, I can create a list or lists to organise my collection. Perhaps I'll gather together the pages I've captured relating to constant dull art. I select 2 pages and drag and drop them into the list. There. Here are the pages within my list. An important thing to note is that lists are non-subtractive, so a page can be in multiple lists at a time, and it doesn't disappear from the capture session, which you can see is still 13 pages on the left-hand panel. So 13 pages in total, 2 of them happen to be in this list. I've added a very brief description. I decide to create a second list to collate the content I've captured about Zach Blass. Although I don't have a huge number of pages in my collection, I want to show you the full text search facility, which is in the top right. I'm searching for Zach. Select both pages and drag and drop them into my list. I can choose, back at the index again, I can choose any page as an entry point into my web archive. I click to review what I've captured. Notice that the capturing button, top left, is now in browse mode. I'm browsing a page I archived at 12:22 yesterday. I click to check all the elements of the article about Zach Blass have been captured correctly. I retrace my path of my clicks during capture, following the link to the NetArt anthology, making sure the video plays back, and clicking through to view the GIFs, still slowly circling. I wish I could see that. I will in a minute. Oh, there's some texts about Zach Blass too. I didn't follow that link during capture, so this page isn't in the archive. Resource not found. I opt to patch. So try to patch. I opt to patch the missing page. If there's content missing which you realise you want, Webrecorder can patch your capture. Nicola mentioned this earlier. If the content is still there, it will Webrecorder will patch from the live web. Otherwise, it will. Or it can be imported from another public web archive, including the Internet Archive, using that Memento protocol. Okay. When the file size counter stills, hover over that patching button, so it's gone from browsing to patching to stop. I'm happy. I always want to review what I've captured from Instagram. I click on the Arti-Verkant images and scroll through the stack. I expand the revolving internet post, push play to make sure that it still does. Back on the profile, an Oliver Larrick work I'm fond of catches my eye. But I didn't expand this post during capture, so Webrecorder hasn't been able to archive the expanded image alongside its caption and comments. From options, top right, I can patch or just record this URL again. I capture it. Notice the button in the top left-hand corner. I'm now capturing again. I return to my collections index. It's there on the top of the list. I click, take a quick look, and then use the internal link to return to Rhizome's profile. Oh, I really love that revolving internet video. Maybe I'll share it with a friend. So I'll click on the share button, top right, but my collection is set to private. I toggle to make it public and decide how I want to share the video before returning to the collections index. I click Options, the 3 buttons, and select Manage Sessions. Here I can see an overview of my sessions. I can also delete or download my collection. I could also upload a work file captured at another time to this collection. Work being, as Sarah and Nicola have already mentioned, an ISO standard file format, meaning it's interoperable. So if I've captured a work file elsewhere using another tool, for example, archive it, I could upload it to the collection. So anyway, I return to my collections index to consider, but choose to download my collection from the expanded options panel instead. So several options to do the same thing. Here I am. Third phase, browse. You can browse the web archives you've captured offline using the Webrecorder desktop player application. The latest release is available from GitHub, and you can see the link in the address bar. I'll share the slides later on. So I launch the player and click Open Work File. Navigate to the place on my local disk where I saved my downloaded collection. It takes a minute or two. Here's my collection containing 2 lists. I click Browse Collection. Here's the collections index as a researcher or end user would encounter it. Again, I can choose any of the pages as an entry point into the archive. I select the 6th page in the list. Here's the article. I'll follow the link to the NetArt anthology again. I'll read a little. Then I decide I want to find out a bit more about the page I'm looking at, so I'll click the I information button in the top left corner to expand the collection navigator. Now I can orientate myself. I can see where this page fits within the context of the collection and view some metadata about the page and the capture. You can contract the navigator panel or open it further if you want to. I just click the I button for a second time to close it and explore the page. Scroll down. Decide to click on the texts link, which I patched earlier. I find the article I've patched. Scroll through, read a little, and then use my browser's back button to return to the NetArt anthology. I click the GIFs to make certain they're still swelling, and scroll down to the social links. Click through to Instagram. Select a post to expand. I clicked on this one during the capture, so it's available for me to browse. Then another, which I didn't, so it isn't. The RTV account stack 1, 2, 3. Okay, these examples help me to explain what I mean when what I meant earlier this morning when I spoke about the object boundary, the browsable encounter is defined and delineated during capture, but if there is something you interacted with which was particularly difficult to capture or which you find doesn't render correctly when you browse, you can click to report a bug. So it's using the little insect, I think it looks like a ladybird icon, top right hand corner. So there. Lastly, I'd like to highlight the screencasts, user guide and the glossary available on Rhizome's website, guide.webrecorder.io. If you have any questions for now, we can talk them through, or questions for later, you could contact support@webrecorder.io to reach the whole team, or if you have questions about potentially using Webrecorder in your institutional setting, you could write to Anna Perici, or if you feel there's something that I could help you with, you can get in touch with me. So this leaves us, I think, about enough time, I hope, because I started 10 minutes after the time that I was allotted. So we have 10 minutes. If you're up for some experimentation or discussion, I've got time for that too.
Any questions for Nisa? She has extensively used this tool, so she's a really good person. And in fact, she was involved in the development of this tool through a sort of collaboration with the developers based on the project that she used this tool for. So if you have any questions about what it does, how it can work, she's probably encountered the same question.
So I was interested in when you were patching and then at another point you recaptured. What is the difference between patching and recapturing?
Well, I think I probably actually with the Oliver Larrick, I probably should have just patched, because I basically had Instagram's a funny thing. So as I demonstrated by that in the demo, I believe that in order to be certain that I've captured all the content and you can interact with it, personally, if I really wanted to capture that whole thing, I'd click on every image and scroll through. And you could do it sort of when you get to this moment, literally click on that the arrows going off to the next post. That would work as well, I think. But I'd be wanting to expand those. But I think in the case of the Oliver Larrick, I was just trying to use a variant option, but I probably should have just patched it, because the page had been collected, but there was an element missing. Whereas if I'd clicked on an external link going to some other website somewhere, a URL I hadn't captured, then maybe that would be the time to click, just record this URL again, sort of start here. I think they're interchangeable, but yeah, I always think patch is more like a sort of just patching up something that's almost there but not, and maybe recording is capturing something that's entirely not part of your archive.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, that sounds good to me. That makes sense.
Oh, thanks, Anissa. I don't think that Webrecorder supports mobile recording or tablet recording,
No.
but I think that Ilya had said to us that we could deploy it in the mobile emulation option in our browser. I think in Chrome there's a mobile emulation option. I just wondered if that was something that you'd looked at.
Actually, no, but yes, indeed, you can. You can. So I record, and I skipped over it. So I was saying the column in the collections index where it says capture browser. There was no data. So I'd captured using my native browser, which is Chrome, or which I was using Chrome yet when I made this capture. But I could have selected any number of they call them pre-configured browsers, so they're effectively kind of emulated versions. So you could be using Chrome but select to make your capture using Firefox, and I think actually Firefox we found to be the most reliable in replay. Fewer bugs and fewer kind of missing elements. But I didn't do that, and in some user experience studies I did in the summer, I found that it made replay very slow. So I haven't done that. But yeah, when you're capturing in the browser on the web, one of the options I think is an Android mobile as a kind of pre-configured browser. But at the moment you certainly can't access the content on your mobile. But no, it's not something I didn't experiment with it, if that answers your question, and not such a...
Hi, Anissa.
Hi.
So the last workshop we attended at the VNA,
Yeah.
Dragon was there and he was talking about automated functions and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, have you explored anything with more automation and stuff as well to collect content?
I haven't, but it is something that they are working on. And so Webrecorder is a tool that has as you know, a kind of a really active and growing kind of community of users who are, with their feedback and their experiences of using, are able to feed back into the process of developing the tool and sort of support its evolution. And one of the things that the community have asked for are automation kind of capabilities. I think my understanding is that those capabilities are still some way off. From my point of view, however, I find the tool almost most interesting for its manual qualities. And yeah, I find it and when I first began working with you and your colleagues at the British Library, it was the complement of these two approaches that seemed to be most productive. Thinking about the way your infrastructure enables you to collect at scale, whereas this tool allows us to hone in a much more kind of detailed and in-depth way, and as I said, to have the opportunity to capture objects that have a much more complex structure in terms of their distribution. So automated features, yes, on the way, not something that I have experimented with or particularly wishing for.
Okay, maybe time for one last question before we take a break for more coffee and biscuits, but no vegan biscuits.
Hi. Despite the fact that it seems to be very manual and not automated yet, you mentioned that there is an institutional contact. Does this mean that some institutions use it at larger scale?
That there are institutions that use it. Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Do they use it at larger scale? Because it seems easy but very, very manual. So if an institution uses it to build up a bigger web archive, I wonder how to do this. So this is why my question.
I'd say not on a very large scale at the moment, no. All on a kind of reasonably time-intensive, one page at a time scale. Although I think there are some there are some more ambitious. I mean, there are ambitious projects, ambitious conceptually and ambitious in scope. But yeah, I think the tool as it currently is, it's very well suited to these more sort of intentional, focused captures.